I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Folks, this is the Friday show. People tell me all the time, oh my God, love the Friday show. You bring in those luminaries. And this guy is backed by popular demand. And I really do mean popular demand. I didn't think I thought I was indulging myself when I brought this guy on the last time. I'm interested in this. I can't imagine anyone else would be interested in it. Turns out I got more cards and letters. I get it. No one sends cards and letters. I got more junk mail and emails about this guy. And as a matter of fact, I was just telling him off the air, I had gone hiking that Sunday. His show came out on a Friday, and I went for a long hike on a Sunday with two close friends who are both doctors. They're both MDs, but one actually works as a practice as an MD. The other one has an MD, PhD. He's in a college. He's at UVA. He works in epidemiology, and they just started waxing poetic about this guy. And, oh my God, you got to get him back on. And what about this? Why didn't you ask him that? And it's like, don't worry. He promised to come back on at some point, but it's been tough to get him back on. I think it would have been easier to get, like, I don't know, J-Lo on this show than to get this guy back on because as it turns out, he got busy again because the avian flu is back on us again, folks. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Gregory Martin. Yeah, Doc Martin. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, just like the shoe.
Yeah. And the TV show. Don't forget.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got the
Yes.
British TV show.
Yeah.
By the way,
Quaint little village.
there are new episodes of that's out now. I don't know if you knew that.
I need to get back hooked back up with that because I found that show quite interesting. A doctor who was scared of blood. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's such a quaint show that,
I
it's one
know.
of those feel good. Every year around Christmas time, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, I'm a manly man. You can tell by my beard. But every year around Christmas time, I start watching Hallmark Christmas movies. It's all the same recipe, right? It's just sappy, almost has a religious flair to it. Every one of them does the same thing. It's like some form of spirituality involved. It's some form of the girl left the country to move to the big city. She's working in an office with a Starbucks. And for some reason, as fate would have it, the company has to send her back to her hometown because they're going to take over the old mill and turn it into, something else. And they need to go shut down the mill or whatever. And there's always in those Hallmark movies, there's a kid, and I always see him. I go, oh, that's going to be the kid with the parent that's in Afghanistan, right? And hopefully mommy or daddy can come home for Christmas, but it doesn't look good. But somehow they always arrange for mommy or daddy to get a leave right at Christmas time to come home. And it's just sappy, and it feels good, and it makes you feel good. It makes you believe that miracles can happen and things can happen. Doc Martin, the TV show, not this guy, folks. This guy does not make you think anything is going to happen. But the Doc Martin TV show really makes you feel like, oh my God, this is like chicken soup of television. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And he always has the right diagnosis, even though it's not apparent. And pow, he comes up with it. Takes the guy to the hospital and says, "This is what he's got. Fix him."
Yeah,
Turns
almost
around.
like Dr. House. Remember House was
Yeah. Oh,
another
House was,
thing.
yeah. Yeah. But House was self abusive. This guy isn't. He's more mentally abusive to himself than physically. How the other House was a trip. Yeah.
So speaking of trips and chicken soup and chickens,
Yeah.
um, look, the big question has always been what came first, the chicken or the egg? And of course we don't know, but we do know that as far as this show is concerned, the egg came first because we did an hour on the egg.
That's right.
And we never really got to the chicken.
Yeah. We need to get to the chicken.
So
you know.
so when we were talking last time, last time he had an egg. Now he's got a little chicken there. Is that ceramic or plastic? What do we
No,
have?
this is one of these stress ball things that I got. So yeah, that's what I got.
Does that help? Do you find it helps?
Oh, when I have the same person call me 5 times with the same questions, I'm sitting here squeezing my ball,
Yeah.
going to my inner self there. So yes, it helps.
So
uh,
what when we talked last, eggs were like $8 a carton for 12.
right, right.
And we were wondering what the hell was going on. And you mentioned this avian flu, and you told me, hey, the prices are going to come down. The flu seems to be under control. Go ahead and recap some of that, and then we'll get into what's going on now.
Well, yes, it has gone down a little bit for some states, but for Pennsylvania, where I live, it's gone off the chart. And I got a recent graph here from, let me see if I can share that with you.
There we go.
This is from the USDA. If you go to the USDA website, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, we call it APHIS, not aphid, that is the bug on your roses, but APHIS. And this has a running total of what's going on since 2022. The current I would call it a pandemic of avian flu that we're seeing across the country started in 2022, and the USDA is still calling it the event of 2022. So it's continuing on almost, for me, almost a full year now. In the last 30 days, just to give you an idea of where we are, we've had 789 confirmed flocks throughout 47 affected states. There's 50 states in the union. I have to go and glean the data to see which 3 states haven't had it. My thinking is, well, and in fact, I can probably tell you it's probably Alaska. Um, let's see if I hold over. Yeah, no infections there.
Hawaii's got to be one of them, right? I mean,
No, nothing there. Hawaii, nothing there. And Puerto Rico, they're counting Puerto Rico. There's 0 affected floods. So
since Puerto Rico's not a state, there's got to be one other state
it's a
in,
territory.
in the connect. Yeah, that and
Yeah,
Guam are territories, but we have 50 states, and
yeah,
look, I could have done if someone would have said guess at least 2 of the states, I would have went well the 2 that are not contiguous, and
it's
that would be
actually
Alaska and
Maine.
Hawaii.
Yeah,
So
it's
Maine
actually
has
Maine.
none either, which is
So
almost non-contiguous. I mean, it's almost falling off of the country up there.
right. So we got Maine, Alaska, and Hawaii that haven't broke. So everything else in the contiguous United States has had at least one case of avian flu. And if you look over the United States here, this shows the amount of birds that were taken within the last few weeks here, or within the last 30 days. And you can see here in Pennsylvania, it's the darkest state. It's the most prevalent appearance of the disease in the country. We've had 4 affected commercial flocks. Those are large populations of birds in one spot. And more importantly, 15 backyard flocks. These are flocks of like 2,000 birds or less, for a total of 215,250 birds. And for some of you in our listening group here, think about what your town is. You know, I live in a town of 30,000. Here's 215,000 individuals that were taken down because of this disease. So that would be like my entire town plus a few other towns that if we were talking people. So it's quite substantial if you think about it. If we put a dollar value of $5 to that figure, you know, it's a lot of money being lost.
Millions.
Yeah.
All right. So here, I noticed Mississippi is not as dark as PA, but Mississippi seems to be darker. Or is that just my eyesight?
Mississippi is a little bit darker but they have only 1 affected commercial flock and 1 affected backyard flock for 89,000. So then we compare that to California, 1 backyard flock of 160 birds. So if we look at if I look at historical data, the smallest flock that was affected was 10 birds in Pennsylvania, and the largest flock was over 1 million birds on one location. So it is a equal opportunity disease. It's very much what we saw with COVID with people. It didn't matter, you know, who you were or where you came from or whatever. If you were susceptible, you got sick. And you know, by the grace of God and vaccines, we were able to survive. Not everybody did, but a lot of us did. So the problem with high pathogenic avian flu is that it's so virulent, it takes the birds down quickly. And so the birds don't have a chance to recover from the flu like we do if we have the flu. And if you think about it, as far as human flu goes, we've had epidemics before. The Spanish flu, for example, that took a large portion of our population down before we had the advent of vaccine. So, you know, flu is nothing to push off. And in fact, the same type of flu that we see affecting these birds is the same type of flu that can affect people. But because only 2% of our population is involved in farming, and I'd say half a percent of that would be in poultry or animal agriculture, you know, the exposure is very, very slight. It's not a disease that will affect people. The average consumer would not have a problem with it at all. And meat and eggs from our grocery stores now are perfectly safe to eat. All of our stuff is inspected and, you know, doesn't pose a risk to us by eating eggs or meat.
So, is it possible for people who are actually handling these birds to actually contract the avian flu, or is that, and it just doesn't affect humans, you know, the way it would affect the bird?
So we've only, you know, of all the cases throughout the world, we only had one fatality that was directly associated with it. And what we found out in the case study was that the individual, I think, was living with the birds, so they had constant contact with the birds. We don't do that here in the United States. We go into the poultry houses, conduct our work, and then we leave. So the exposure at the most might be 8 hours or less.
Right.
So, and the type of symptoms that we see mostly is like conjunctivitis. So you get a red eye, you might get the sniffles or something like that. But typically, if you're in pretty good health and you're up on your flu vaccinations, you should be okay with this.
That's good to know. Give me 1 minute. We're going to come back. Folks, Villa CAPPELLI olive oil is the longest running sponsor of this show, and that's for good reason. I use the stuff here. Anna Vocino uses it over at Eat Happy Kitchen. We both have it in our products. I use it in my vitamin D product. So go check out this company. Listen, real olive oil, people are, oh, that Villa CAPPELLI is so expensive. There's a reason for that. It's 100% pure olive oil from Puglia, Italy. That's like the Mecca of olive oil. Don't tell the Greeks I told you that. But that's where you want to get the good stuff. And I might be a bit biased about Italy being a better olive country than Greece, but hey, that's just me. That's where my people are from. But it's more than that, folks. We're allowed to cut olive oil up to 40%. You know, like we're talking to a doctor today who's telling us how the bird world works and how food ends up on our table. Olive oil, our government, the FDA, they made a deal with the devil. And the deal is you can cut olive oil as long as it's 60% olive oil in that bottle. You get yourself some Bertolli's. Think about all those big national brands. You see them in whether you go to Kroger's or Harris Teeter. Doesn't matter where you go. They always have a full stock of something like Bertolli's, and it says extra super duper virgin cold press olive oil. Okay. How in the hell can anybody put out that much olive oil all over the place, you know, all over the nation without adding seed oils? That's just not that many olives. So, you know, they have to cut this stuff. Kind of like in Bogota. You know, you got the good Peruvian shale down there. You get the real good cocaine. It starts working itself up north. By the time you get to Mexico, it's been stepped on a couple of times. They got to make a buck. By the time it gets across the border, into the United States, someone's got to step on it again because, you know, you got to keep stepping on it. By the time you get your cocaine up your nose, God only knows you probably only have 30% cocaine. Do not let that happen with your olive oil. If you're going to snort olive oil, you want to snort the best. So you want Villa Capelli. Greg, can you believe they pay me to say this? At any rate,
But you know, I was thinking about that. You know, I have a love affair with Lydia Bastianich,
yeah.
and you know, she makes her marinara by scratch, and she uses a high quality olive oil. And so it does make a difference. If you want to do something right, do it right. You can get the best ingredients you can afford.
Yeah, and Villa Capelli is the stuff. When people go, "Oh, are there other brands?" Yeah, there are other brands, but I can't go out there and study every other brand. You want to go study those brands? There's a book called Extra Virginity. Also, UC Davis puts out the olive oil study. You can go check that out, or you could just save a lot of time and a lot of money by going to Villa Capelli, or just go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner, put in promo code at checkout, and you'll save 10%. So you get kind of a little handshake by putting in VINNIE, no wimpy Y, Villa Capelli. Go do it, folks. I have gallons of it here because I drink it every day. Notice, I just throw it on a salad. I drink a shot of it every day. People always say, "Oh, what other supplements do you take besides your own supplements?" I drink olive oil. That's why I look so damn sexy at 60 years old. So go check it out, folks. Villa Capelli, promo code Vinnie. We're talking to Dr. Gregory P. Martin, Ph.D., PAS. He's got more letters after his name than anyone else I know. And he knows more about chickens than I do. As a matter of fact, the only thing I knew about chickens was everything I learned from Foghorn Leghorn. You know, when he would say, I'm not a chicken, I'm a rooster. Yeah, and that's all I knew. It's like, oh, that's a rooster. Foghorn Leghorn's a rooster.
Yeah.
I say, boy.
Yeah.
That must have been your favorite
He's about as bright as a sack of wet mice. I remember some of those. Yeah. I love him too.
My favorite is one day he's telling the chicken hawk, he starts telling him a joke and the chicken hawk is not laughing. He goes, boy, I keep cutting, but you ain't bleeding. One of my other favorite was there's something about a boy that don't like baseball that makes me kind of go, eesh.
Yeesh. Yeah. Or the kid that's the smarty pants, and he's doing all the ciphering, and then all of a sudden, you know, here's a paper airplane, and he draws up the plans and figures it out and makes a glider that takes down the other plane.
Those cartoons were brilliant. And you know what? The world, they're lost now. They're lost because kids are looking at the TikTok and whatever in the hell they're looking at. And you have all of these great cartoons that were just so well done.
Everybody should watch those again because they have hidden innuendos, and they wrote it for the adults as well. Because every now and then, especially Porky Pig would turn to the side and say, "Mr. Schlesinger, I didn't mean it," or something like that, talking to the producers, you know, and it's great.
You know, one of the things I found out was, I think it was Warner Brothers, they didn't pay their writers as much as Disney was paying them. So these guys were like, okay, we're going to have fun. And they put in all these innuendos because they figured adults were going to watch it with the kids.
Right.
As a kid, when you're watching Bugs Bunny, you hear and see one thing, but if you watch it again as an adult, you're going, wait, he said what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Duck season. No, rabbit season. I love it.
I mean, that was all kinds of stuff. And as I've always said, you know, Bugs Bunny was the original drag queen on television.
Yes.
About that.
Yes. He was the original. He was the original Groucho Marx and Milton Berle. If you think about it, he took them both on. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, and as a matter of fact, it was, you know, a lot of those were written during World War II when we were attacking the Japanese. So there was a lot of words we can't use anymore.
No.
In there, you know, and it's crazy when you, as a matter of fact, I think they took a bunch of those away. Did you know that?
I have a few on some archived tapes that I have from the 70s. They didn't take them away yet, but yes, you're right. There were some that had Nazi in Japanese innuendos. They were war pictures because they were trying to sell war bonds. So
Yeah.
they scared the bejeebers out of you. So, and you know, rightly so, because it was a close war if you think about it.
Oh yeah, it
And
was touch and
they
go for a while.
also Warner Brothers was actually picked to help with training videos, and I've actually watched training videos of tech sergeants going over a plane, look for gremlins, and they were, you know, they show the guy with the gremlin, you know, walking around trying to goof things up, you know, and knowing, you know, being quiet about missions, you know, loose ship, you know, loose lips sink ships
Yeah,
and that kind
yeah.
of stuff. So they would make cartoons for the troops so that, you know, some of these guys couldn't read very well, and so a cartoon was an easy way to get the point across.
Yeah, it's amazing what we were able to do with that kind of thing. I also, the Little Rascals, which was not a cartoon, it was an episodic of kids. At one point, I know that Bill Cosby went in. Do you know this story?
No.
Bill Cosby went in and bought up a lot of. He tried to buy the whole catalog of, or maybe he did end up buying the whole catalog because he wanted to take out all of the racist jokes made around the kids stymie and buckwheat, and you know, so he, you know, which, you know, rightly so, you know, you don't want that in today's world, but that was what the world was back then, right? And a lot of that stuff is now gone.
Well, think about this show. It was the first show that I know of that had kids from different backgrounds, different skin colors, playing together, and all they wanted to do is play together. You know, they wanted to be part of the He-Man Woman Haters Club, you know, and give me the
Yeah.
high sign, that type of thing. And, you know, that's what it was all about. Yes, and but at that time, you know, we gotta remember Amos and Andy was very popular at that
Yeah.
time, and other shows. And
Step and
that's,
fetch it, all of that
oh
stuff.
yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
all of that stuff you can't, you know, I go back and watch some of it because you can still find it.
yeah.
The only one that was in love on that show was Alfalfa was in love with Darla.
Oh, all
He
the
was
time.
you know, and
Yeah.
that was creepy. That would be considered creepy nowadays, right? That
Oh
would be
yeah.
considered stalking in
Yeah.
today's
Yeah.
world. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and speaking of which, Pepe Le Pew. I mean, Pepe Le Pew, that would now be considered completely wrong.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Be assault.
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
could go on and on. Who
Uh,
knew that we would start talking about chickens, get into Foghorn Leghorn, and end up with cartoons that can never be seen again?
we took a left turn at Albuquerque. That's what happened there, Vinny. I think we need to bring the horse around.
You know, they were always taking, Bugs Bunny was always taking a left turn at
Turn into
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. Yeah.
And if people understood, they don't even, kids today are going, what are they talking about? He would
Yeah.
dig through because rabbits would make holes and dig in and the whole thing. And he would get to Albuquerque and you would see the thing go left.
He would pop up and he goes, this isn't Cucamonga. I've been to Cucamonga. There's not a whole lot there.
Oh, same here, Rancho Cucamonga. And when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I thought Cucamonga was a made up name. I moved to California. It was like,
No.
oh my God, it's right here. It's
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes in the cartoons you would hear the train conductor, Azusa and Cucamonga. That was a lot of fun.
It's funny. I'm
Yeah.
going to be in Azusa like in a week. Can you believe that? I'm going to be in Azusa because I'm going to climb a mountain over there. I'm going to be in LA for a week. But that's neither here nor there. I
Yeah,
want to get back to
California is beautiful. If you haven't been to California, despite what you hear about it, the smog, the people, the cars, all that other nonsense, there's a lot of nature and attractions there that is wonderful. And there's a couple of places I would suggest to go to. One is Yosemite National Park.
yeah.
The other is the big trees, Calaveras big trees, as well
Mhm.
as the lower part of the um, uh, Yosemite is the giant Sequoia Kings Canyon National Park. And so you'll see trees with, you know, huge trees, 300 years old. They're the size of buildings. And I have pictures of these in my phone that I show people. You know, they're bigger than a bus.
They actually have one you can drive through because
The
they cut,
Wawona tree, yeah,
yeah.
fell
And,
over.
and folks, I mean, right now, this time of year, you can't get out there unless you have a snowmobile. But and even the Eastern Sierras, I'm a big fan of. You can see that from the top of Whitney or the top of Mammoth. You can look over and see Half Dome and all of that.
Oh
Right?
yeah,
It's definitely one of the most beautiful states. I can't say the most beautiful because I can't give a state a title because there's Wyoming,
oh yeah,
there's
absolutely,
Colorado,
yeah.
there's Utah. I can make an argument for Utah being. I mean, I don't see why people who live in America don't just get in the car and drive out west and see what's out there. It's a crazy beauty. This is the most beautiful area on the planet. And I will challenge anyone to that. And I've been everywhere. I've been in the fjords up in Norway and everywhere else. I'm telling you, I've been around this planet. We have some of the most beautiful areas right here in the contiguous United States.
Yep. I've got 5 states left to include all the states in the union, and it's a short list of 5, but every state has something for everyone to look at, and I encourage everyone to go do that. My next trip is this April. I'm going to Monument Valley to look at the scenery there that I've seen as a kid in
Yeah.
all the John Wayne Westerns. I'm a big fan of John Wayne Westerns. My favorite is Rio Lobo, which had John Wayne, Ricky Nelson, and Burt Ward, and Dean Martin. Great movie.
Oh,
Oh, and Stumpy, Walter Brennan as
yeah.
Stumpy. It
I
was a
love
great show.
I love Monument Valley. It's one of my favorite places. I've been through there by car several times because I'll take the 40 sometimes. I used to leave LA and take the 10 or the 20 to get down to Louisiana, but if you take the 40, you'll go right through Monument Valley. And I've actually been through Monument Valley on a bicycle. Watching it at that speed, it changes so slowly as you're going through. When you get into Mexican Hat and all those areas, it's just unbelievable. And when I tell people all you need is a car and enough money for gas, and you can see this country. Guess how many?
Yeah.
All right, so you haven't seen Monument Valley. What else? What other
No.
states have you not seen? And then I'll give
So
you
the,
my
the
list.
so the rest of my 5 would be Idaho, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and was that North and South Dakota,
3,
Nebraska,
Idaho 4, and then
Idaho, and Alaska. That was the 5th. Alaska.
you ready for my list?
Yeah,
Alaska.
that's it.
I've been to 49,
Oh
49
my
of
God.
the 50. And most of that was due. My dad is an American history professor. And when we were kids, he would put us in a car every summer. So I got a lot of those states before I got out of childhood.
Yeah.
My dad, like you could, even at 84, 85 now, you could just mention a road and he'll tell you where the road goes. And I have that same disease. Notice I was just talking about Mexican Hat and where you're going to go.
Oh yeah.
You know, I can tell you this country as if I'm telling you how to get downtown. I can tell you how to get around this country.
Oh, absolutely. And every area has some type of historical significance. If you're in California, there's Sutter's Mill and the finding of gold. I was in Wyoming and stopped at Little Bighorn
Mm-hmm.
and saw the Custer's Last Stand. It's a grassy knoll out in the middle of nowhere. And if you understood what the predicament was for Custer and his troops, they picked the wrong fight with the wrong group of Indians.
Oh yeah.
They were outnumbered by about 80-1. So yeah, it was bad. But if you're out there and you sit there and listen to the docents explain this stuff, it's amazing. Yeah. I even went on the Alcatraz tour and
I've
the
never done that.
penitentiary out there. I
I've
recommend
always
it.
wanted to. Really?
Oh yeah, I recommend it. Yeah. It was a very high security prison. There was 2 guards for every prisoner. For many years, nobody talked at the prison,
Yeah.
complete silence. And they had a factory on the grounds there. And of course, it was an island out in the middle of the bay,
Yeah.
50-degree water. There's sharks out there. But good old Jack LaLanne. You're probably old enough to remember Jack LaLanne, the exercise guru.
I wrote about him in my book. Jack, I have a chapter
Yeah.
called "Jack LaLanne Saved My Life." Yeah, you're going to talk about the rowboats that he pulled.
Yes. Every birthday, he would pull rowboats and swim handcuffed, pulling rowboats
Yeah.
at over 60 years of
Oh,
age.
I think the last time he did it, he was in his 70s.
And he's pulling these people in rowboats against the current from Alcatraz
Yeah.
over to the shore. And he showed that it could be done.
Yeah,
So,
he was doing those feats his entire life. Um,
yeah.
two of my favorite
Unbelievable.
things is I tell people when you get a chance in the wintertime, go up on Donner Pass. There's a road up there now. You don't have to break trail like they did. But they got bad information from this guy Hastings. That's a whole different story. But at any rate, spend time at Donner Pass and you'll see where these people were in conjunction to where things ended up being like big cities right next to it. And that's an incredible thing you can do. Yeah, there's so many places in Wyoming that everyone should see.
It's big sky. They call it big sky country for a reason, and it's just absolutely wonderful. During the summer, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and if you do nothing else in your life, I'm going to give everybody a task to put on your bucket list, and it's doable. Drive Highway 70 from end to end, and you will see, if you just have one chance to see the beauty of this country. You're going to go through some plain areas before you get to the mountains and the Continental Divide. But then it ends at the 15, and then you take the 15 south and you'll end up in Vegas and you get to LA. But, do the 70 from end to end, and you will see a great portion of why this country is the most beautiful place on the planet.
It is.
So, yeah. At any rate, I could do geography. You and I need to get together at some point with a drink and just
I would be glad to meet with you, Vinnie, anytime with your favorite beverage.
Yeah,
even if it's a shot of olive oil, I'll take that plunge.
Well, no, look, I like scotch, and people say, "What's your favorite scotch?" And I go, "Well, Free is my favorite." So yeah, we can get together and just have some scotch.
That works for me too.
Okay, let's get back to the chickens.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've always said on the chicken and the egg had to come first because everything came from an amoeba, right? So do we agree on that?
Well, it depends if you're biblically based or not. As a poultryman myself, we always discuss it as egg first. And because, they hatched and then they promulgated and they proliferated and covered the world. The nice thing about chickens is that they're very compact and you can carry eggs for a period of time before you put them all together and put them in an incubator and they all become birds. So, people used to carry them in baskets on ships and let them lay eggs on the boat, and they had a ready source of protein there as they're going across. Because, sea travel wasn't as good as it is now. I mean, 2 weeks on the Queen Mary 2 and you're coast to coast, but they had air power and it took them months to get across. So, they had to have a ready source of protein just to keep themselves fit.
So where are we with chickens? You talk about a lot of birds. You talk about poultry in general. Where are we with that as far as the nutritional value? I've had people in this podcast that will say, well, chicken, is nowhere near as good as red meat. And where are we with that as far as the nutritional value?
Well, they're highly nutritious. It just depends on how much and what of are you eating. I think that's the important part of it. Because it's lower in fat because of the lack of marbling that you would see there's no interstitial fat that's really thick like you would see on a steak. So it has lower fat quantities than you would see with some of the red meats. But fat is flavor too. And that's why, a good prime steak does have a lot of qualities that people enjoy. Do we eat it every day? Of course not. And so my big thing is that everybody should eat a balanced diet and include proteins that you are agreeable to in moderation as part of the whole picture of things that you eat. So I tell everybody, you know, aren't you leaning towards being vegan, or, you know, you're not a carnivore, are you? And I said, no, I'm an omnivore. I eat everything
Yeah.
except for a couple of foods, and you're going
Go
to hate me
on.
for it.
Oh,
One of them is eggplant. I just haven't got my arms around eggplant. It just, the texture's wrong. Something about it just doesn't agree with me. Now, if you snuck it into a soup, or if you snuck it into a lasagna, maybe I would eat it that way. But just fried eggplant doesn't work for me. So maybe I haven't found the right recipe yet. I think it's a beautiful plant. In fact, you know, it's very beautiful, but not a big fan of eggplant. And there's an egg dish that a Doc Martin doesn't like. Eggplant.
well,
So yeah, but
you said
as
two
far as
foods.
meat is concerned, you know, poultry meat is very low in fat, high in protein. It's highly digestible. It's very versatile because it doesn't have a gaminess to it, unless you're eating pheasants or something else. A truly upland game bird would have a gamier taste to it, but or a darker meat, so like duck and geese. But usually, you know, it's very versatile. That's why it gets made into a lot of different things. You see McNuggets, you see breast patties, you see other things. And I think America has made that shift, especially for fried chicken patties. I mean, every fast food outlet now, including McDonald's, has moved a lot of their menu towards chicken. I think it's cheaper for them to do that, but on the other hand, there's a higher demand. I think more importantly, probably due to Chick-fil-A success. If you think about what's on the menu at Chick-fil-A, it's chicken and fries and potatoes and maybe nuggets and drinks. That's it. And they're making hand over fist doing it. So
Okay, so
it's
this brings up a lot of questions. But first, I have a
sure.
statement. One of the few foods I will not eat is an eggplant. Um, I do not. I'm Italian. They go, what about eggplant parmesan? Yeah, you keep it. I don't have time for eggplant parmesan. I don't have time for the eggplant. When I was a kid, my mother used to slice it thin and try to
Yeah.
bread it like she was doing catfish, and she would cut it into a fish form, thinking she can fool me. She never got me. She never fooled. I'm not eating eggplant. Don't tell me you make it different. You're going to make me love it. You're not.
Uh-huh.
Not going to happen.
I'm glad we agree.
We agree on a lot. Um, I have a lot of questions. So first, I
Yeah.
want to talk about, I eat a lot of game bird. As a matter of fact, I prefer game bird to chicken because
Okay.
I like the taste. I guess I grew up on enough wild meat to where when you once you have a taste for that, that's what you want. It's got more flavor. It's got more oomph to it. I have some doves in the freezer right now. That
So do you prefer the darker meats? Because what
I
I was
do.
going to suggest to you, that don't buy chicken breast, buy thigh meat. Because if you look at a chicken,
That was gonna. You're going right into my question. Why is
you
some meat
look at a chicken,
dark? Go
okay,
on.
the front half is white meat, the back half is dark meat,
Okay.
because it's a terrestrial bird, and the back of the bird where the feet are is all dark meat because it has to run, and locomotion is important, and so it has to have blood filled sustaining muscle tissue to do that. The flight feathers and the top of the bird here is used very infrequently, but it has to be quick, so they're fast flyers. So this, what we call short twitch muscles, as a physiology term, short twitch muscles are in the front of the bird, and they're glycemic, so they're very heavy on sugars and carbohydrates to keep them going. So they can't sustain flight like a goose. A goose is
Right.
all dark meat, but they are quick flyers. So that's what makes them so versatile, because half of it's dark, half of it's white, and it works well for anybody, you know, the whole family. Because there's some people that prefer dark meat. It's moisture, it has a higher moisture content and a different flavor palette to it. So it's very versatile too, because you can get boneless thighs now very reasonable in the stores, and people stuff them. So you
Yeah.
can do roll them in panko and stuff them and bake them. Oh my gosh, it's great.
I've never had a boneless thigh. You know, we do
Oh
a fair
yeah,
amount of chicken here, but you know, even like sometimes Serena will do the whole chicken, which means she will be having the breast. I will actually give, if we have any leftover breast, the dog gets it because to me it's dog food. There's no redeeming quality to the breast
the
for me.
main thing to remember about breast meat is don't overcook it. Use your thermometer. Stop when it gets to 165. Don't keep cooking it. It'll be rubber.
See, we're
It's
both
just
so
like cooking. It's
scared
like
of it.
cooking liver. It's like cooking liver. If you overcook liver, it is like eating cardboard, and you shouldn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're both scared of it because we both gave ourselves salmonella when we were younger cooking. So my wife is like that. I'm like that. But you know, she will do the thighs, she will do the wings and the legs for me, and the you know just the whole deal. I love it. The rest of it is just dog food. I don't
Yeah.
understand why
So
anyone would eat
the
that.
main thing is to have a calibrated thermometer. And I'm looking for my thermometer and I can't find it. I must have lent it to somebody. But the main thing is to have a calibrated thermometer where you can go in and check your food products with good certainty. And the way to do that is to calibrate using ice water baths. And it's important you got to have lots of ice in a styrofoam cup with water.
Okay.
Ice is the refrigerant, water is the conductor.
Okay.
And so I'm going to use my pen here, my orange pen. And so you put your thermometer in that cup and you let it sit there for 2 minutes and you swirl it around a little bit and it should read 32 degrees or
Right.
or 0 Celsius if you're a Celsius fan.
Right.
Then if it's not, then you can make your adjustment. Always buy a thermometer that you can adjust to read correctly at 32 degrees. And that way, when you're checking your food, you know what you got. And so I have quick read thermometers at home. They're digital. I can stick them in there, but they still have a calibration button so I can calibrate if I need to. And I always check them. If it's really an important thing, like tenderloin
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, I check my temperatures. So that way I know what I got. So I don't overcook the tenderloins and end up with rubber meat.
We do a
So
lot
that's
of
the best way to
checking.
do it.
No, no, we have one of those really fancy schmancy ovens where the thermometer is in there. We just have to stick it in. I don't know if
Yeah.
she does it with the chicken. I'm gonna have
But
to ask.
you need to check the calibration on the fancy dancy thing because
Oh
even though
yeah, 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 yeah.
you could have
I
paid
will ask
six
her about
grand
that.
for the thing, but if the thermometer isn't worth a flip, then you got nothing, right?
You're absolutely right, and I will mention that to her. I've
Yeah.
heard two things. You want to get to 165 on the chicken, right? You said
Mm-hmm.
165.
Yep. USDA recommends 165.
Okay, 165 and
Yep.
calibrate.
And calibrate. Very important. It takes 2 minutes. It's not that long. You stick it in there and do it. In fact, I can show you this.
Folks, this is why Greg needs to keep coming back on the show because we learn something new every time.
So here in my famous tube here that has my name on it, and only I have this, I have a bench thermometer that I use. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mercury thermometer. There's the red
Yep.
in there. Yep. And this is my ultimate calibration thermometer. If I need to calibrate at something else besides 32 degrees, I can do that. And there's actually a cork I put on there so that I can stick it in a bottle
Oh, nice.
and do that. Yeah, I did that for incubators, incubating ostrich eggs. So I had to put that in the incubator and test to make sure everything was working right. So there's a calibration thermometer. So you don't have to go this far. You can just need a good styrofoam cup, ice, and water, and you got it.
Well, look, the next time I'm out incubating ostriches, I will get one of those. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, look, I don't do it as often as the next guy, but every now and then you say to yourself, I need to incubate some ostrich eggs. I
Yeah,
just don't know
yeah,
how to go about
yeah,
doing that. And
yeah,
so that brings up a question. Why in the hell? I mean, you always tell me you work with every kind of bird.
yeah.
That's a bird you can ride.
It's the only bird I'm scared of.
Really?
300 pounds running at you at 30 miles an hour. That's a scary thing to see.
Are they 300 pounds?
Oh gosh, yes. Some of them, the adults can get up to 300 pounds. Yeah.
And
And
I've seen in movies and everything.
over 6 feet tall. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they look huge, and I've seen them in zoos and everything else. And
Yeah.
but you see people riding them, and it's like, oh, do you really? I mean, should you be riding a bird? I mean,
Yeah. I'm looking around to see if I have my ostrich egg here, and I don't. So every now and then I'll pull one out and show people that. But yeah, it's a 6 pound egg
oh really?
with,
Like,
with
show
an
me with
eight.
your hands again. How big are these eggs?
They're like this. They're like a small football.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they're big. The Africans use them as canteens, the old eggshell. So they'll make a small hole and blow out the egg. They'll fry the egg. It'll feed the family of four, and then they use that shell as a canteen to carry water. Because
So
the egg will sweat a little bit, and that evaporates and keeps the water cold as they're running around out in the bush.
other than cowboy boots, why do we need ostriches?
Well, they survive very well in South Africa. They eat, salt brush and just about, it's a desert dwelling bird, basically. It's the novelty of it. Years ago in the 1920s, they used to use the feathers for millinery and for clothing. It was very fashionable to have, an ostrich plume in your hat. And then all of a sudden, cowboy boots became very, very popular, especially quill skin, where
Mm-hmm.
the quills come out, and that's only on certain
Sure.
parts of the bird. So between those two, that was the big thing. Emus were very prized for their fat. They made emu oil. They still sell that as an emollient and arthritis salve or what have you. So those birds, which we call ratites, if you look at their breasts, they have no pointiness to their breasts. It's perfectly flat like a raft. So it's ratites, and they're flightless birds. Their front wings are just vestiges. There's not much there at all. It's all leg and back strap if you think about it.
So, and going over to the emu, I mean,
Yeah.
they're maybe Australia. Where do we find the emu? I'm thinking
Emu,
Australia,
if I remember, emu is New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand. I knew it was somewhere in that area of the world because
Yeah.
I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Australia, and at some point,
I,
maybe I was in Tasmania where I saw an emu,
yeah.
which is right down there.
The babies are really cute. They're striped.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
even though you see a CGI one on the Liberty Mutual commercials.
oh,
So
that's right. That
yeah,
is. I forgot about that. There's an emu.
that is an emu, but
Yeah.
I've never seen an emu sit there with glasses on, so I know it's a CGI.
Yeah, that's the worst ad on television right now. Eh, but you don't forget it. That's emu.
It
Yeah,
sticks in your mind. Yeah,
it
it's
does.
crazy.
Um, can we eat emu, or is it just,
Yes, yes, I have.
and is it a good bird? Is it gamey? What do we have there?
It is fairly tame. It's not too gamey. Neither was ostrich. Ostrich actually tasted a little dry to me. It had low moisture. And so yeah, you almost had to sauce it up or put something on it to make it taste good.
What
Or
kind of
or
cream or
saute it in butter.
yeah.
That would work too. But that's a saturated fat that I don't know if you would want to do it. Maybe
Oh,
in
I eat a
olive
lot. We
oil.
talk about eating a lot of saturated fat on this show. I'm
Okay.
all into it. Yeah.
So maybe cook it in olive oil. So there's another plug.
Well,
But
first you
I
got
would
to get one. I mean, look, where number one, I've never had ostrich. I don't think I want to kill an ostrich.
No, but
So I don't
there
know.
are abattoirs, and you can get it like Omaha Steaks or a steak shipping company. You can still find it on menus on certain restaurants that sell a lot of game meat.
Yeah,
That have elk. They have elk
moose
and
and
deer and
caribou and
moose
yeah,
and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I've never seen it because I used to go to Saddle Peak Lodge about once a month in LA. It was the only place where you can guarantee that the only place you'll see a vegan is outside protesting the place. And I would go there. I
So
mean,
Vinnie, do you call yourself a carnivore?
no, I'm carnivorous, but I'm like you. I eat.
I'm an omnivore. I
I'm an
eat
omnivore.
everything.
But
Yeah,
I'm very selective about my vegetation. I usually stick to cruciferous veggies more than anything else. And the only my only fruit is avocado, olives, some berries on rare occasions, and cherries. Because they're all low glycemic. And I love broccoli. I can eat broccoli like most people eat chocolate bars. And
what about stone fruit and apples?
apples are a little higher on the glycemic scale. I generally don't eat apples, but stone fruit in season, you'll catch me having, a nectarine or
Yeah,
a peach or something like that. But just in general, and, because I live in dietary ketosis. So whenever I go off the reservation, one peach ain't going to kill me type of thing.
right,
And I usually have it after I've had a meal of some sort. So,
right.
there's no way I'm going to spike any blood sugar that way. And, I've been living like that. I had cancer way back when,
Sure.
and they told me it would come back in 5 years. And I said, that's when I figured out, cancer feeds on sugar. And because cancer is always a closed cell, it doesn't use, very few cancers use any oxygen at all. So it's got to feed on something. It feeds on sugar. It feeds on carbohydrates. So um, in 2007, they said, you're going to have to come in for chemo probably in 4 or 5 years. And I went, well, I didn't like this first round of chemo. So I'm going to see if I can really make that 4 or 5 years, 6, 7, or 8 years. But now we're in 2023. So
Good for you.
I still haven't been back from chemo. I haven't, cancer hasn't come back. And people go, well, you're just, well, I don't know. Maybe I am just the odd bird out, no pun intended. But
Yeah, it works
here
for
I
you.
am.
And that's an important thing to think about, that, diet has to work for you. It has to be
Yeah.
something that you're willing to live with, because if you don't, then you fall off the reservation. I don't know how many people have joined different programs and they've fallen off because they didn't like it. So you need to find something you like and
Yeah.
that works for you. Exactly.
Yeah. And look, people like our mutual friend, Susie DeMeester,
Yeah,
people like, she's found good health by, following idiots like me. And, now she's getting, I don't know if you know this podcast is coming out in a couple of weeks, but she's running this weekend in Virginia Beach, her first half marathon. I mean, Susie was a couch potato. Now look at her. She's a
perfect.
damn athlete, you
Yeah.
know? And I was just on the phone talking to her about tapering, and she didn't even know what tapering was. I mean, this woman is not an athlete, and she's learning at 60. We're the same age. That's why
Yeah.
I like Susie. It's kind of like talking to you. I feel like I know you, because
Yeah. We're roughly the same age. I'm a little bit older, but that's okay. I
well, you
have a
don't look older, so that's good.
Well, I do make sure my wife makes sure that I eat a piece of fruit every day. I eat vegetables every day. I'm a big fan of cruciferous vegetables, like you said. One of my favorite is Brussels sprouts. Um,
Oh, that's a cruciferous. Yeah, I love
yes.
Brussels sprouts.
Oh, and if you were in California, you were in Brussels sprouts heaven.
Oh, we had the best.
So you go up to Gilroy and you can get the whole stalk.
Mm, yeah.
It's amazing. They're wonderful, wonderful vegetables.
You
So
know, I'm going to tell. Let me give the audience a little trick, folks. Take the real skinny Brussels sprouts, not the big thick ones, not the big oak tree trunk ones. Get the really skinny ones. Cut the ends off. Lay them out on a flat pan. Put your Villa Capelli. Get a nice dose of Villa Capelli on them. Salt the ever living crap out of them. Just hit it with salt and then hit it with salt again, and then put it in. Go about 325, 350, but keep an eye on the oven. Keep an eye. And when it starts browning, shake them up a little bit, let them keep browning. And when they start to turn black, you pull them out. I swear to God, you got a French fry. You have the best tasting French fry you've ever had.
and you don't want to burn them. You want to roast them, but you don't want to burn them, because
Yeah.
roasted vegetables are really a treat.
Oh
Even
yeah.
roasted tomatoes or carrots or what have you. It makes it taste so much different. It's great.
Yeah, look, I've always said cheese is the best thing in the world. You can't get anything better than cheese until you melt it. Now it's better. I don't know
Oh
how that
yeah.
works, but you melt
Yeah.
it, boom, you just got something that's better.
Yeah.
Same with vegetables. Brussels sprouts. I like to put them in the big pan, the big black pan, and
Right.
I like to scar them up. I like to get a nice crust on them, and you do that with the salt. You do that with butter or Villa Capelli or one of those things. People go, "How do you eat like this all the time?" It's like, you mean enjoy my food all the time? Is that what you're
Right.
asking me? Because it's not that difficult.
Well, and Julia Child, I think, put it best. Julia, how come you're not 400 pounds because you eat all this French food? And she says, nobody told us that we had to eat all of it.
Yeah. And here's the
She would
thing.
eat a little bit and she would share the rest.
But the crazy
Problem
thing
solved.
is that when
Yeah.
you're eating high fat, high protein, you become sated because your body is not going to start releasing a ton of ghrelin and leptin and cortisol and insulin,
Yeah.
and you're not going to shove all that into fat. Your body's going to utilize it the way it was supposed to. And that's what people have trouble understanding.
So it has to be a balance between the meat and the protein side and the carbohydrate side. And
Yeah.
and I drink at least a pint or a pint glass of milk every night too, just for the calcium and all the other minerals and vitamins that are in that. And I try to eat eggs 2 to 3 times a week, and we're having chicken tonight. So
Yeah.
um, my one of my favorite recipes is what is actually crock pot chicken, and it's very versatile. Set it up in the morning, you go to work, you come back, and you've got a meal ready to go. So it's very simple to make.
Folks, you're hearing it from the doctor himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, I could keep you on here for another hour, but I got two more podcasts to go do.
Oh, that's
Um,
fine.
eh,
Understand.
would you promise to come back and do round three?
You really want to do round three with me?
Yeah, I mean, we got more cartoons to talk about.
Oh gosh,
We didn't
yes.
even get into Yosemite Sam.
Okay. So
Yeah,
so if I can bring the bus back to the road for a minute here, the one thing that I
sure.
was going to say is that if anyone out there does have chickens at this point in time, this is the time you need to be careful. Biosecurity for your flock as well as your friends' flock. Spread the word. You need to be careful. There's guidance online at USDA. Protect the flock. If you Google that, you'll get right to it. Biosecurity 101. Follow those steps. That'll keep your flock happy. If you've got birds with names on them, they're important to you and you want to keep them around a little bit longer. So please keep them away from wild birds and especially waterfowl, and you'll be fine.
Oh, one
So
more,
you're to answer your question, yes, I'll go for number three. We'll make it a hat trick.
one more question for you. We've
Yeah,
considered several times, and I'm looking for a picture while I'm doing this because there's a picture I want to show you. I want you to tell me what I have here.
I
Um,
need to make you a back. I gotta turn it back to you, but yes, go ahead and look. While you're
okay,
looking, I'll do my thing.
okay, but here's the question: we keep considering um, doing chickens here at the house, and I'm worried. We have so many snakes in the area that I'm worried about the snakes.
Yeah,
Will they attract snakes with the eggs and the whole thing, or what's the deal? We have a lot of copperheads. That's what I'm worried about.
yeah. The baby chicks, they probably would go after the baby chicks, but not the bigger chickens, because the boss hen would probably go after the snake. Um, the biggest threat to your birds is actually household cats. And stray cats getting into your chicken coop and taking down your birds.
Well, that's a
Next,
problem
that would
because
be
we have
would
two.
be raccoons. Raccoons are bad,
Yeah.
and every now and then we'll get possums and mink and other things and fox that get in there. But there's ways around that. I can talk to you about that sometime.
Yeah, because we keep considering it, and we have cats, and
Yeah.
there are other neighborhood cats. There's one cat that comes in the house at night through our cat door to eat our other cat food. It all drives me nuts.
Someday you're going to wake up in the morning and see a raccoon in the middle of your floor eating that crazy cat food. So you may want to think about a sliding lock at night for
Don't
that
get me
cat.
started, because
Oh my gosh.
the cats have brought snakes in the house. They're, you know, there's always dead squirrels in the house. There's,
You know why? Because you're part of the pack. You're part of the fold.
yeah,
And so they're trying to give you gifts. My
exactly.
mother used to
Yeah.
have half-eaten mice on the back porch because the cats were bringing presents to her. She
Look,
didn't understand it either.
no, we understand it. We're
Yeah.
big cat fans around here. We understand
Oh
exactly what the
yeah.
hell's going on.
Oh
We
yeah.
just don't know how to stop it. You
Oh
know,
well, you
it's
gotta lock the door, or else you're gonna have a 30-pound male raccoon running around your house, and God help you, it's gonna take 3 brooms to get that thing pushed out the door. Yeah.
we actually had raccoons that used to come into our house when we were in LA. I'm going to show you this. Can you see this in the camera? What is this bird? It was by my pool last summer, and you see it?
I can't see it, Vinny. You got to get closer.
Uh,
Tell you what, for round 3, email that thing to me, and I'll figure out what it is.
okay, because it looks like a damn saltwater emu of some sort. You know, I don't know what it is.
Well, it could be a great.
Here's him after he put his. I was thinking maybe
Did it look like a stork?
like a stork. I was thinking
Okay,
growback or
it could be
egret.
a great blue heron. Google that, great blue heron.
Okay.
I got a call one time from a lady close in my town here, and she says, "There's this great big bird eating all the fish out of my koi pond." I said, "Does it look like a stork?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "It's a great blue heron. It's protected by law. You can't kill the thing,
That's him
but you got to
flying
scare it
away.
away."
You can't really tell. He's just flying away there. He
Oh
found
yeah, big like a 3-foot wingspan, great big
oh
bird.
easily.
Okay,
Maybe
it was probably a great blue heron, and they're fun. They're fun to watch. They're the
yeah.
best fishermen out there. They can just wait out the fish. Boom, down they go and they grab a fish. So this bird was just sitting there watching the fish go by, and every now and then poop, and he ate every koi out of her fish pond. So I had to talk her through the idea of putting a net across, just simple like chicken wire,
Right.
across her koi pond to keep the crazy bird out. And she said, "I don't want to do that." So I went online and I talked to some experts, and there's a silhouette, there's a scarecrow
Mm-hmm.
for the heron, and you make the scarecrow bigger than the bird it is, and that tells the birds that, hey, Big Duke is on board here. Don't come to this pond, and it pushes them away.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that thing. I was like, it, you know, down in Louisiana, we had something that they call the growback, and I was like, it
yeah,
looks like a bigger growback, or it looks like an egret, but the wrong color.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
and
the biggest birds that I know that fish like that are pelicans, and I've seen pelicans feed on the Pacific, and it's. I had to stop the car. It was amazing.
well, I know the pelican because I'm from Louisiana. It's the Louisiana state bird. But the pelican has the big gullet. You know,
Yep, it has that waddle. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I knew it wasn't a pelican, but I was like looking at it going, I've seen similar, but I haven't seen this.
and if it has a sharp bill to a point, then it's
It
probably
does.
a great blue heron.
Well, that must be what it is. I will be looking it up in just a minute.
Yep.
Did you give it back to me or
Yes,
did
sir,
you,
I did. And
okay,
and
so
yeah, I will come on for version 3 if you want me back.
we will come back one more time and we will do a whole show on Foghorn Leghorn, folks. That will be the entire show.
That
um,
crazy dog. We got to draw a line somewhere on the screen so that when we get to the end of the rope, down
yeah.
he goes.
Yeah, I can watch those cartoons all day.
Ah,
Hang on just a second, Greg. I want to say goodbye to you.
sure,
Yeah, folks,
sure.
over at my company, nsngfoods.com, we have Ultra Fat on sale for the whole month, 20% off. If you put in promo code Vinnie, 20% off, VINNIE, no wimpy Y. Even if you have a subscription, you can bulk up. You know, springtime's coming, you're going to be hiking more and doing all this stuff. You're going to want more Ultra Fat. So go get it right now, 20% off. If you set up a new subscription, the first time it ships, it will be at the 20% off, and then it will revert back to the low price that you would get with the subscription. So tons of ways to save at NSNG Foods. You know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. If you want to learn more about birds and chickens and everything else, you can check out Gregory P. Martin, Ph.D., PAS, and he's at Penn State Extension, right?
Extension.psu.edu.
Folks, did you say it one more time?
Extension.psu.edu. Penn State Extension.
Go check all of that out on behalf of Dr. Martin. Doc Martin. My name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.